October 4th. Sorry. This is the October 4th, 2023 Katuitt Fire District Prudential Committee meeting. Call it roll call first. Seth Burdick.
Present.
Mark Lynch.
Present.
Fran Parks present. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Lisa, is there any public comment?
I don't see any.
Okay, all right. I asked for this meeting tonight so that we could make a decision about having a second meeting for the residents of the village about the school. An all Zoom meeting so that the people who work and can't get out of work or are housebound for some reason can sign in and do a Q&A and ask questions and give us their thoughts. So any comments?
Would it be Zoom only, or would it be in person and Zoom?
Just Zoom. I think the being in person and Zoom is a much more difficult procedure, and I think we get a better recording for people to listen to just doing the Zoom. We don't.
By the way, Fran, I spoke with Sean Brown about the success he has with the OWL recordings, and he has shorter meetings with fewer people, and as a result, the OWL recording, ours are much longer, and it involves all kinds of audience members coming forward and backing off, and he thinks that's contributing to the giant file size that makes it difficult for us to use. And you would have an even tougher time with a very large audience in wherever you had it, Freedom Hall or elsewhere.
Yeah.
Plus, so I think it's the sound quality and whatever visual stuff you want to share. Everyone gets to see everyone and hear everything adequately. Zoom only.
Yeah.
I guess my only. Does everybody, we are also familiar with Zoom calls, and we have Zoom, and we're familiar with Zoom and how it works. We comfortable that, everyone has access to Zoom and knows how to work Zoom, such that we don't need to worry about lack of participation for that reason, as opposed to the very valid reasons that Fran points out.
I don't think so. If you watch the town of Barnstable meetings, the planning board meetings are typically all Zoom. The conservation committee meetings are all Zoom. The historical commission is all Zoom. So, and that spans a range of folks. So I think it's, I think I would prefer to do the all Zoom and get a better recording for people to listen to afterwards.
Seth, any thoughts?
I don't know. To put it
Wants them all in one building with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We've had some. What was the real big Zoom meeting that we had? Was it the first one? This project, this thing, didn't we have one that had hundreds of people there? That was the initial informational meeting prior to when we brought it to the district meeting for the acquisition of the property. Didn't we have one? Wasn't there a real big giant Zoom meeting? I remember.
I want to say that was a civic association meeting.
Yeah, ditto.
2 years ago, that was a civic association. That might have well been, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't really see, I mean, either way, I think it'll be just about the same. I mean, I don't know if people will be more, I don't know. I can see both sides of it. I don't really have an opinion. John Gardner has an opinion, though. He's got his hand raised.
Yes, John, you're muted.
Okay. I think if you give out enough advance warning that the meeting is going to be on a particular date at a particular time, and let the community know that it will be just Zoom. And if somebody really has something they want to share with the rest of the village, they're going to figure out a way to either voice their complaint to you folks or find a way of participating so that they can share their ideas.
Well,
But they need the right lead time for that.
I mean, Lisa and I've discussed, sending out another postal card to every resident of the village, with the information about the meeting and the information that they can go to our website and get everything that we know about the school process, is there for them to digest, and have any questions about, they can ask questions about it from after going through that information.
Two things. One, I assume that we're still all fine from a governmental perspective, that we can still have Zoom meetings as opposed to in-person meetings.
Yes, we can do that until March of 24, I think, or 25. They extended it to one of the, I think 25.
Okay.
And Mark,
Let me just throw this into the mix. I did meet with Angie the other day. I'm sorry, Angie. Now I'm going to blank on her last name. The pastor at the Catuit Federated Church. She would be delighted to host
I'm
a
sure.
meeting at the church if we wanted to go that way. So, if we would, with the possible issue of sufficient chairs, which we could fix, we do have a venue in town that could easily hold however many people wanted to show up. I mean, I am inclined towards an in-person meeting, but not, over. I just think it's you get more and better interaction from an in-person meeting. So I'm slightly inclined this way. People can raise their hands electronically and put their thoughts in chat, etc.
What's the technological capability of the church then?
Who knows?
So they have basically they have a projector and a screen. We would bring our own computer and do whatever PowerPoint we wanted, and we would do the Angie wasn't real familiar with exactly what kind of tech they have to host a Zoom meeting. So presumably we would do the Zoom meeting ourselves. Lisa, are you comfortable that we can pull that off if we have 120 people in a Zoom meeting?
the same challenges exist. We would have some sound quality issues. Certainly the building is structured, might have lower ceilings than Freedom Halls. How are people from the audience going to be heard on the Zoom recording? You would have to plan, adding microphones, having them come up, and making sure there's no rebound effect of what's coming out of my computer and what's being recorded. I think you could meet physically and choose not to open it up to Zoom so that other people who have accessibility issues won't come. But at least you wouldn't have the recording issue and the sound quality issue. Somehow you wouldn't end up with a recording that could be posted online, though. There is one other option to doing this with a Zoom only meeting, and if we do send out a postcard, we could word we could do some hand holding on how you connect to a Zoom meeting. You know, Mark, if you're concerned about some people not really knowing how to do that.
Yeah, that's less of a concern than just the whole idea that you get, I feel like you get better interaction in person. The Katuitt Federated Church is, by the way, fully ADA compliant in a way Freedom Hall is not.
That's true, but the parking is awful. There's no parking. There's worse parking at
Yeah,
the church than there
yeah.
is, you know, and people are gonna be parking on streets with no streetlights.
Just as an aside, but perhaps an important aside, when I was talking to Angie the other day about this topic, and basically she thought parking was a huge issue for the town. She referenced the fact that the Katuitt Craft Fest uses the town the baseball field, the Kettleers training ground baseball field, and she thinks that we should get in touch with the Kettleers to make sure that they're happy with their parking situation too. But she very much emphasized that from the church's perspective, given the events they run, that parking is an issue village wide. So
Well,
whatever, for what that's worth.
Yeah, well, they brought it on themselves. That's all I'll say with this new building. But there's, you know, because there's no parking on School Street because everybody's gonna be at the Kettle Ho. You know,
Yeah.
so that
Well, I
way,
think she was sure her primary concern was the craft fest, which is more than just a Sunday morning activity. But I take your point. There is less parking at
Did
the
they
church.
park on the grass this year and have a shuttle? Is that what it was?
They did, and they evidently that's what they've done historically.
Right.
And I believe the Kettleers games,
They park on the grass there as well.
they park on the grass there too.
Uh-huh.
So, but
I presume that no, they don't want us to pave it into a giant parking lot. The whole
I would not be
3
interested
acres
in
that
that.
are
On the other hand,
open land.
if we needed some overflow,
No, of
pave
course.
paradise and put up a parking lot, yeah, let's try not to do that.
If
I'm
you-
sorry, that was
if
an
you-
aside, but when we get to our meetings, Zoom or otherwise, we should raise that topic. So I lean towards in person. I can be persuaded.
And I mean, I lean toward in person too, but it's awfully cumbersome. Just from any way you look at it. In
I think-
terms of, I personally am not concerned about the Zoom or the recording aspect of it, or whatever. If we were to do a hybrid thing, I mean, those people who are interested are going to be there, and we can have minutes. But at the same time, just the nature of having everybody in the same room and losing control of the meeting is the orderliness of the Zoom aspect of it is what I like.
I think that's, you know, I've had people say to me, you know, they want to come and comment, but they're working or they can't because, you know, they're taking care of their kids at home.
Well,
And
there's that too. I can relate to that. But
Yeah.
so, and I think, and I also think that I agree, it's better control on Zoom. You can, you know, it just turned, the other meeting basically just turned into kind of chaos with people standing up and, you know, we can control it to one speaker at a time. And,
Also, this meeting is going to be a Prudential committee meeting, and it's going to be run by us,
yes,
and people will speak at our invitation. So I think some of that dysfunction from the last meeting will be alleviated. Why don't we do, how about this for a compromise? Why don't we see if we can pick a date? Angie said that Thursdays are the best day. Why don't we pick a Thursday for a Zoom meeting? And if people start complaining that they want it in person, we could, you know, we could make it a hybrid.
yeah, well, where is everybody that was at our meetings last week or whenever we met? I wish somebody were here to comment on this other than us.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I have a feeling, you know, we could go through the trouble of doing this card, which I think is a great idea, by the way. and then, may get all kinds of feedback, why the hell isn't it in person? Or maybe not.
You
So
know,
if we have a backup, like pick a date for a Zoom meeting, but have in our back pocket that if we need to, we can make it in person. Or
That sounds
hybrid.
fine to me, because if we're gonna send a card a week ahead of time. We set the meeting date for 1 month from now or 3 weeks from now or
Yeah, but
whatever.
you can't send a card that says Zoom only and then change it to an in-person somewhere else after the.
If
card
somebody
has been
No, but what
made.
I mean to say is that there would be time between when we send the card and today. We wouldn't send the card. If we decide the date of the meeting and say what we're going to do, we're not going to send the card today or
No.
next week. Well, you know what I'm saying? We'll send it a week prior to the meeting. What was the timeline between when the card went out and the meeting occurring last time?
It was tight, especially because we had to change the
Right, we
location.
shifted it, but it
And
was
so
just
we
a
had
few
to
days,
change the
right?
card. So what Mark had suggested is sending the card out, and if we get a lot of complaints, we could change the venue, but we can't change the venue after we've sent the card out and said
No.
it's going to be in a particular place.
Is that what you said, Mark? I thought you were saying that we would send the card out ahead of time with a Zoom meeting, and then
that
I
if people-
imagined that we would set a date. We'll have other public meetings prior to when that date comes up. If people have an issue with it, they'll no doubt appear at those meetings
Yeah,
and tell us
well,
that.
first of all, I thought if we're gonna send out a card, let's send it out with as much advance notice as we can. I mean, I don't know why
Right.
we wouldn't send it out 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead of the time.
Because they'll 4 weeks is way too long, it needs to be like, no, I would say no more than 10 days before the meeting.
How
Why
much
is
did it
that?
cost us to send sorry, I interrupted.
I don't have that figure. It's, well, hold on. I will get back to you on that. I have the file here. I think it's something like 400 or to mail plus the
Plus the
printing.
printing.
The
costs.
printing,
And you can't.
less than
send-
$1,000?
Yes,
A little bit less than that, yeah. But really, when you advertise something with a card to residents, you can't change your mind after you've mailed that card announcing that you're going to do such and such, because you've made an announcement to the public. The only way you can
Right.
change your mind is to send another card, which is, more a double expense, and you risk not getting it to residents in time.
Yeah, you may be right. I'm inclined to do it in person. Send out cards. This is when we're gonna do it. We can always add Zoom to an in-person meeting, right? Or do you need that to be on the card?
it's, have you watched any of the town meetings when they have people, either phone in? A lot of people phone into those meetings, or, to make a public comment about something, and they're on the Zoom screen. It's not as easy as it sounds. They have an entire IT staff that takes care of that, and a whole screen that they can put people up on, and somebody to take their names as they phone in or sign in. I think I really would prefer to do the Zoom. I just think,
All right, what do you think, Seth?
Oh, I don't know. I can see both sides. I wish we could do I wish we could do a hybrid meeting. That would be the most obvious choice for me, because it gives people both options, obviously. I don't love the idea of having it at the church personally either, but any port in a storm, if you need to have a meeting and you want to have the maximum capacity, and if they had the technological capability to conduct the meeting, because I don't know, someone said that they did have but that was maybe a commenter at our last meeting saying they have a whole system in there, but I don't know that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Not aside
I
from a
don't.
projector, but you imagine if they spent $4 million on a building, that they would, and they're a community organization, that they would have had a
one would think,
technology
but then
plan
again,
as a part of that.
well, I think I think that's a mistake to have another in public meeting. I think it's gonna be dark at night. It's gonna be hard for people. There are no lights. And I just think it's, you know, inconvenient, but if. they
Well,
do it-
we can, I mean, I'll just go with the Zoom option then, I guess. That's my opinion, I guess, at this point.
Okay, let's pick a date then.
What do you think? 2 weeks, 3 weeks
From now?
from now?
think-
More,
I think
less,
more,
1 week?
like 4.
No, it's 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Oh.
No, random.
So,
Today's October 4th.
4th, you know. So we could do it like the second week of November.
That's election week
Yeah,
and Veterans Day.
It would
So
be,
you're talking about the week beginning November 6th, Monday, November 6th?
yeah. When's,
You
what
wanna do
about
it
Monday,
the
November
9th?
6th or the 9th?
Either way works for me.
I would say the 8th or the 9th, since the 10th is Veterans Day and the 7th is Election Day.
Why don't we do the 9th?
okay, that sounds good.
That's fine with me.
What time?
5 or 6? 6?
Earlier the better.
6. So the other item I wanted to discuss is, we have, when we've put signs out, you know, I had them printed for, school meetings that we've had in the past. That total for those signs that we had Lejeune print, $758. Because, the announcement signs that we have, aren't adjustable to make those changes for that. So, I've been looking at, with, Lisa, been looking at, investing in some, sandwich board signs. And, I found some, I don't know. Anybody see this?
Yeah,
Uh-huh, I can
those are
see it.
those look like the kind that the Civic Association has.
Yeah, except they're bigger. So, what, 4 of them would be about, $800. We have a gift fund, that we could use to purchase them. And, they'd just be a lot easier to deal with, for, putting out signs around town. So. And, you
Would we
know,
like advertise our usual Prudential Committee meetings? Is that the?
no, we haven't, we could, I suppose.
We probably should, I think. Or just the district meeting or any meetings or whatever's coming up.
I put out signs all the time for voting in district meetings.
Right.
Those signs
Yes,
go
of
out every
course.
year, which people don't
Yes.
see. Really. But,
Usually. How much do those
how
sandwich
do you
boards?
do those, Fran?
pardon?
What do you use?
The red signs?
I don't know. You said you put out signs for the annual meeting. What
Yes,
signs?
I,
The red
I ran,
signs.
I ran those figures for Fran. We've paid like an average of 350 per year for signs for the ADM elections and SDM. 1 year, the COVID year, we paid for larger signs and we bought a lot more of them. But this way we'd save at least 350 a year in buying those temporary signs from Eugene with the stakes that go with them, because we would be able to modify the lettering on our existing signs.
Okay, so the prior signs were the blue jean signs with the stakes.
We had
The
to
signs-
have them printed and pay for them every year.
Okay.
The signs that we use for the annual district meeting, have, a slide in and out. So, and so one side says, voting, and the other side says district meeting. And then every year I change the date on the middle sign, because to get one of those things that slides in, it's $50 a piece to have the sign maker do those. So then I just, flip district meeting and voting, and I flip the date. But, it's just,
I guess I'm okay with it. So
and also
someone's
these,
gonna have to put the signs together, which is gonna be pretty time consuming, but other than that, it's an okay idea.
so, but
Did I
also
miss how much they are? I thought my connection is bad. How much do the sandwich boards cost?
209 a piece.
209?
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, these signs could be used by the fire department for meetings, and also the water department. They're much more versatile than what we have.
I think they're also twice as big as the ones we pay for by Lugene to print.
Yeah, and they're larger than the Civic Association ones. So I'll accept it. And I ran this by Ray also. So I will accept a motion to purchase 4 sandwich boards signs for $209 each.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
So any public comment anywhere?
I do not see any.
I have something that I wanted to say just
Okay.
about RER meeting, or this meeting that's going to come up in November or whatever. I think it's time for us to, I know we haven't necessarily adopted a position on the school, but I think it is time for us to adopt an official position and guidance on the school. Do you know what I mean? Before we go to
Yes,
this
I
meeting,
agree.
yeah, that we just be that in terms of the structure of the meeting or the nature of the meeting, that our end of it, at any rate, be that we, as a body, it is our opinion and guidance that we demolish this building and do it in these following steps, and we will do this process and so on, and then that'll be that. That is our position. And so those among you who have an opposing position, it is now time to enumerate that position, because this is what we intend to do, barring any public outcry or change in warrants or whatever, or opposing measures in the ballot, whatever, however you want to do it. But that's just one thing I was thinking, that rather than, that will at least give people a target, you know what I mean? So that there's not
Yes.
I've
the
been,
moving target, the diaphanous nature of the conversation.
Right.
I tried to
That I
get,
completely agree with that. How exactly we word it. This is our tentative opinion. These are our current views, however, but the idea
Right.
that we're saying, this is where we're coming from. We give a PowerPoint presentation to start off and say, these are the alternatives. Our view is you protect the water, you demolish the building. What we can do with the property consistent with the building not being there is open, certainly something we want to discuss. But at least at this point, we believe it should be demolished, and here are our reasons why. Yes.
Right.
I
And any
completely
continuing,
agree.
right, and push anything that would be a discussion of what will occur after that point away to someplace else for later on, but keep it very distinct and say that this is what we're talking about now. And really, ultimately, that we say, okay, it's our recommendation and this is how we proceed, barring something real or something really solid that is, you know what I mean? So yeah, but you get it.
Yeah,
All right,
I
that's what
think
I
we
think
have to
anyway.
say, and by the way, here is, again, people seem very interested in process. Here's the process of how the annual district meeting works. And here's how you can amend a warrant, and here's how you can place a warrant on the list to be voted on.
Right. because that will give them that will put the ball in everybody's court
Exactly.
that would want to do something, and it will be then rubber hits the road, drop, you know what I mean? That will be it.
Yeah.
Because if we
If
introduce a
nothing else-
warrant that says we're gonna demolish, get an RFP to demolish it or whatever, then there will have to be an opposing warrant, and it won't be. It's not as if we're trying to hijack the process. That's just our recommendation.
Right. And if nothing else, they'll have to get 50 names. And
Right.
if they do, that's an interesting development. We got to take that into account. But you're right. This is the time to get serious about this, which kind of at a minimum means you need 50 names to get a motion at the special meeting.
Right. Because it's kind of always been put back in the balls always go back to our court, just like at our last meeting when I tried to, to illuminate or enumerate the feeling that we're not the ones that are going to come up with this idea. We're not going to craft the warrants because we have no mechanism for knowing who and what and how people are feeling about it, other than these meetings where people just say whatever. But it has to come from a ballot initiative or a warrant initiative or a petition, whatever you want to call it.
I think that's a great idea.
I've been trying to
All
get
right.
from the fire commissioner's chairman any sense of how much they think that a new fire structure is going to cost. But he wouldn't give me any idea. But that's, I think that's important that people know that, there are plans that fire commissioners are working on plans to build a new fire station at the site where they are. And this is not going to just be a $1.5 billion project. This is going to be, 5 to 6 to 7 millions, I think, probably.
Right. But I think we should just stay the hell away from that topic of conversation, period, at our meeting. For
I
me,
agree.
you
But people,
know what I mean? At the community meeting.
Charlie's
people-
hand is raised also.
Hi, Charlie.
Hold on, before we go to someone's hand. If we can, what I'd really like to get from the fire department is where I think they are now, which is they're looking at an addition on High Street. It is still a possibility, although I think small, that they could use the Katuitt School property. But what I really want to get from them is we don't want to use the building. Because I don't want, if we are going to demolish it, we don't want the fire department to be saying, well, maybe we could use the building. I don't think they want to do that. But it would be nice to get from them an affirmative, yeah, either we're going to build on High Street or we're going to build anew at the school property, but we don't want the building. Is that something that you're discussing with them, Fran?
That, they're pretty firm that, they're really setting their sights on doing this on High Street. And Sean thinks it'll work. And, we did have a plan when we did the space needs for doing pretty much not as extensive, but pretty close. And that was 3-4 years ago. And that was $3 million at that point. My point in telling people about this at the meeting is that they need to understand that, doing something to the school, turning it into a community center or something else that will cost $3 million. They've got another huge expense coming down the road, which is the fire station. And, it makes no sense to me to spend a bucket of money on the school except for to demolish it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you, Fran. I don't want to get too in the weeds with, do we need another firehouse and how much is the firehouse
Right.
going to
Because
cost?
that's always a dog whistle when it comes to these meetings. It always gets everybody all riled up and off topic.
Right. And it's the off topic part that I'm like, if we're going to demolish it and then separately, what do we do about a new firehouse? That's fine. But let's not get, the decision on what to do with the building should only be involved in the fire department to the extent that they think they want to use the old building. And I don't think they do. If we can get a clear no on that, then we're
Right.
just talking about the building.
Charlie?
I'm just wondering if you put a warrant article in, that someone could just come up at the meeting and make an amendment to it, which would go to John. They wouldn't need the 50 voters to put their own warrant articles together.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Well, I guess it depends on how much of an amendment, you could say, here's a warrant that says we're going to demolish the building, and someone could say, well, I want to amend that to say that we're going to renovate the property. That's not really an amendment, so to speak. It's turning it on its head. I assume the moderator is responsible for
Yes, that
not
would be
not
his.
letting that happen.
And legal counsel.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right, so I think we're all set.
Can I take a look at the draft of the card? I don't know who's doing that, but if I could take a look at that. And Carol Zace, the Katuitt Currents, she gave us an extension for 1 day, so I will get something to her at least with the date, which is Thursday, November 9th, for a 6 p.m. Zoom meeting to discuss the Katuitt School. And
Answer questions and answers.
sounds good.
Okay. All right, so I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you.